Chapter 12. The End. The next week, Dorian and Lord Henry decided to go to a party. Dorian was now safe from James Vane, but he wasn't happy. "Henry, I must tell you something," he said. "I'm not satisfied with my life. I'm not a nice person. I've done some terrible things. But now I'm going to change." "You said that before, but you didn't change," said Lord Henry. "It's too difficult, and it isn't important. I like you as you are." Lord Henry paused for a moment, and then he continued. "Do you remember Alan Campbell, the scientist? He died 2 weeks ago. It was suicide. He didn't leave a note, and nobody understands what happened. But lots of people are talking about it." Lord Henry looked at Dorian carefully. "They're talking about Basil, too," he said. "Basil went to Paris 2 weeks ago to paint, but he hasn't written to anybody in London, and my friends in Paris say he isn't there. It's a strange coincidence. Alan Campbell and Basil both disappeared on the same night. Do you know anything about it?" Dorian didn't like these questions. "I don't know anything about Alan Campbell or Basil," he answered. "Why should I? I'm thinking about the future now. I'm going to be a better person, you'll see." Lord Henry laughed. "You're tired, Dorian," he said. "Go home and try to sleep. Then you'll forget your strange ideas." Dorian left Lord Henry's house. "I'll show Henry that I'm serious," he thought. "I killed Basil, and I'm responsible for 2 other deaths. But that was in the past. Tomorrow, I'll start a new life." When Dorian arrived home, he decided to look at his portrait. "Maybe it knows my good intentions," he thought. "Maybe now I'll see a better, more handsome Dorian. The Dorian of tomorrow." Dorian went upstairs to his old study, unlocked the door and went inside. He removed the cloth and looked at the portrait. There wasn't any change. The face was as ugly as before, and the evil eyes were even more cruel. Dorian couldn't believe it. He was furious. "Why doesn't the portrait change?" he thought. "I'm going to become a good man, but the portrait still shows the bad Dorian. Why is it so cruel? I must destroy the portrait, then I won't remember those bad years anymore." Dorian looked at the writing desk and saw the knife. Quickly he took it in his hand and stabbed the picture very violently. There was a terrible cry. The servants heard it and were frightened. People in the street heard it and stopped walking. 2 of the servants went upstairs to Dorian's old study and saw that the door was open. "That's strange," the servant said. "This door is always locked." They entered the study. On the wall they saw a beautiful portrait of Dorian Gray, looking young and handsome, just as they knew him. Then they looked at the floor and saw a dead man with a knife in his heart. His face was very ugly, and his eyes were evil. "Who is that man?" they asked each other. They didn't recognize the body until they saw the rings on its fingers. Then they knew. It was the body of Dorian Gray.